Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News. The brief period of North American dominance at the Sao Paulo lock-in event has come crashing down yesterday with DRX and Talon respectively destroying the hopes of Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses in this tournament. C9 though, an especially interesting loss, getting destroyed on the final two maps of the series, bopped out of the tournament, especially when they were considered when they formed one of North America's few super teams. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. A few updates for you guys. Of course, Cloud9 and Zeltis having a good time before the series began. Not, though, after the series concluded. Quick update as well, though, from Redger, because we saw him mention on the other day that Liquid, it was a bit confusing whether he was going to be there or not. Man, this team is so scary with Nats here and Redger here, of course, and Yampy and the rest of the guys closing out the team. But, yeah, Redger is here, so I'm not exactly sure what was happening there with Redger, because he was teasing that he wasn't going to be able to make it or that there were some issues. But, yeah, he tweeted yesterday that indeed he is there with no problems at all in time for the Omega group starting in a few days' time. And that has the real heavy hitters, right? That's got the real top North American teams, arguably, at least according to ShahZaM. He reckons that Sentinels and 100 Thieves are the best in NA, and they're both in Group Omega. And it's got the Liquids, the Navis, the Fanatics of the European scene. It's going to be a banger. But some of the top Pacific teams are in Group A, and those are the ones that are looking on the brink of potentially getting all the way through to the brackets. Honestly, got to give some respect to Ethan here, because having the balls to tweet this out before you've got to play a game later in the day is pretty impressive. This guy woke up extra early just to send some hate on the EMEA teams. Such a sad feeling watching practice rooms get emptied out after the first week. What's even more sad, it's all the EMEA teams. So, yeah, I thought this is pretty funny, and he actually commented on this after, of course, they lost their series later in the day, because, yeah, just to trash talk the EMEA teams the day before you're going to play a series that you might potentially lose, and they did lose, is quite the way to do it. But, I guess you've got to respect Ethan for hating it more than anyone's ever hated before. Let's talk then about the Cloud9 series. I thought this was going to go the distance, right? I predicted a 2-1 series, I think, to Cloud9, but I thought it was going to be super tight, maybe map 3, down to the wire. Who knows what's going to happen? Because, look, PaperX got destroyed by Cloud9 the other day. DRX are better than PaperX, I think, but maybe not too much so. So I was wondering, okay, how is that going to go? Now, on paper, DRX were the favourites here. Many people have them favourites for the entire tournament, and you can certainly understand why. But game 1, it was pretty comfortable for Cloud9. It wasn't absolute demolition on the Pearl, but it was relatively comfortable. The first half, though, when they went to the Haven, that was a very different story. It was an interesting composition, really, that Cloud9 came up with, and they got completely destroyed 9-3 on the first half of Haven. That map was over as quick as a flash, and DRX all of a sudden had very much the momentum in their favour. And they were keeping everything under wraps, the hype under wraps and everything, because look, we know full well the other day what Cloud9 did, waving goodbye to PaperX after they took them down. The coach writes Matthew Elmore when he made the comments when he was on the guard that PaperX, they're kind of effectively that they're not particularly nice people, and they weren't kind of, let's say, humble winners when they beat the guard team as it was back in Reykjavik last year. So I'm sure DRX wanted to kind of get revenge a little bit for their own, not country mates, but region mates, let's just say, in PaperX and DRX, of course, being from the Pacific side. And then DRX played map 3 of the series impeccably well. Cloud9 just had absolutely no answer for especially stacks on the harbour. I thought was very interesting because we don't see much harbour in play, but it does seem like the cascade, especially over towards this site on the icebox, is pretty deadly, and Stacks was making it work. And look at this right from Stacks. This is hilarious. They kept this in all series long, and the Cloud9 guys got completely bodied, and Stacks stands up and the entire team was just waving goodbye, which of course is just what Cloud9 did the other day to PaperX. So yeah, to see this happen I thought was absolutely hilarious, to be honest. And Stacks, especially, even after this when they waved goodbye, Stacks then, I think he stood there and he flexed his arm, kind of like what Zelsis does, and then was pointing at his arm like, what do you mean, Zelsis type thing. So I thought that was just hilarious, and I just got to bring up on the big screen, I guess, here, because the entire team waving them goodbye, especially Stacks, was just look, it was deserved, let's be honest here, because they did it the other day, so they had it coming. And DRX, they played incredibly well these final couple of maps of the series, and there was absolutely no answer from the Cloud9 side. Sean Gayers reckoned that Cloud9 kind of gave DRX too much respect in some of their plays, but yeah, this is just fantastic content, to be honest. And even Cloud9 tweet out themselves on their way straight up to the nearest airport. So they're straight out of there, of course. And what do you guys think about this Cloud9 team? Because it was an interesting couple of series they played. They dominated the first series against PaperX, and then they got pretty much destroyed here, certainly in Game 2 and Game 3 up against DRX, and they're now going home already. And especially given the fact that when this team was formed, it was meant to be like a super team. I never really bought that, to be be honest, right? I mean, this core of Vanity and look, I like Zelsis. I think Ye's good as well. We'll see from Ye here in a second. But this core of like zyppan, Vanity, and Leaf, they've never really like achieved that much, to be honest, to consider the term super team. And even their coach Matthew Elmore at MCE, I believe, said at one point that he's even not convinced himself that the roles are going to work on this team, or he said something to that effect, that he was like, yeah, we don't really have the best players in each respective role, and they've still got some things to figure out here. So at the end of the day, it's the first series or first tournament of the season. There's not going to be any real roster changes happening, I imagine, after this tournament, unless anyone gets an absolute disaster, let's say in Group Omega, just because it's single elimination. But from an individual level, Ye, that's the thing as well, right? Ye last year on OpTic was set up for success so well. We might see that again with Artis to a certain extent on this NRG team. We'll see. The meta has changed though, so it does make it a little bit different for players who play in Ye's particular role. But on an individual level, Ye hasn't been that like takeover, impactful player that he was on OpTic. I don't think he's lost his ability, but it's more like a setup thing, right? It's more the way the team is playing and the compositions they use and all these other factors that are potentially holding Cloud9 back from where they need to be. Even as Zelsis says, unlucky, Pacific better than the Americas, Slobby Haven, terrible third map, lots of work to do, he says. And even this I thought was interesting from Buzz, who says, yeah, they were really calm talking about Cloud9, and they were really cool and collected, but they did something on the stage that I felt like they were kind of faking that whole thing being cool and collected. That's when I knew we were going to win the series. So he reckons they read through their body language, and actually Cloud9 were more concerned and scared that they were making on or letting on, and well, DRX saw that, took advantage of it. And this was some of the immediate reaction here from Sean Gares and the others about them just getting completely bodied on that map of the series. And Sean Gares even saying that he reckons Ye was getting pretty tilted because he felt like he couldn't do anything to change the outcome of the series.
I've never seen this on Haven. DRX actually just owned them on this entire attack. These guys are literally retake every round, bro. DRX owned them on this attack. Oh my god.
Like, how the f do you hold this with Cloud9's comp? Their dog gets hit by the thunder. He's got no util. Good flash by Zelsis. Oh my god, that Hunter's Fury into heaven. Oh my. Wow. 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 That half wasn't even competitive, dude.
No, it wasn't.
It was like, I would say that was way more dominant than Pearl.
Much better from DRX now.
Yeah, he looked kind of tilted right there. Like he didn't know like what to do. Like he was like just sitting there, tilted. I don't like that. I mean, I don't blame him. He was probably like waiting to see if he could get a pick. And...
Okay, all good. I was trying to say, when you see like two Titan teams play each other, like two world-class teams play, it's always like usually very close maps. And this one has been one-sided on every map, so I guess it's like the new meta and everything. That probably is a part of it. New meta, new maps. No way, man! Like, oh no! Oh no!
Oh no!
So BS. This hurts. This hurts.
I mean, deserved maybe?
Yeah. He's got the last word in for sure. He stayed quiet the whole game.
I mean, bro, I'm not gonna lie.
Class act.
That perfectly.
Ye actually gave a bit of a follow-up to this, right? Because, I mean, Ye, I think, is the highest paid player probably in the world right now. I'm not exactly sure in quite the salary. Maybe Sentinels are playing TenZ more, I'm not sure. But the contract that they signed Ye for was absolutely absurd. And, you know, understandably after a season last year. But, you know, big question, right? When you're on that kind of money, then you better deliver. And this series wasn't really the case. I always thought that individuals don't win championships. Teams do. In terms of whether or not I need to be a top tier individual, I mean, that would help. But overall, I think we just need to get better as a team. So first kind of tournament they played of the season, apart from the one they played back in December, right, at the Red Bull home grounds. But I think it's just losing in this fashion that raises questions, because DRX were the favorites in this series, you know, winning 2-1, Cloud9 winning 2-1. I thought both were reasonable options. And after the Pearl was 13-3, they dominated this one. Then it was 13-7 on Haven. Okay, Pearl was 13-3, but at times these rounds were pretty close. Haven, though, the first half, it was quite clear that DRX were outclassing them, and Icebox was just 13-2 complete demolition job. And getting destroyed like this does if they'd have lost a close 2-1 in overtime, it wouldn't have been such a big deal, I think. But losing like this does raise more questions, I think, than it answers potentially. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. And then Evil Geniuses. Honestly, I've no idea how they managed to lose this series. Like, they were playing it pretty well the first half of both of the series they played. An 8-3 became a 9-3 lead on Haven, and then game 2 split. I think it was an 8-4 advantage at the half, and they lost both games. Like, I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest. The 9-3 lead here, they collapsed pretty hard here. They eventually lost 13-11, and it was the game 2 that was even more frustrating to watch, though, because of the lurks that they were trying to pull off, right? And I know that many people were talking about this, that BCJ was finding himself in a spot where he was trying to lurk for, you know, through mid on split and stuff like this, and often the team would just die, and BCJ would just be left on his own, and it wouldn't work. And it's like, you know, I understand how that can be a reasonable play, and obviously having a lurker can be a viable strategy, but if it isn't working, and the timings aren't right, and the team's dying and just falling behind, even when you're trying to make the lurk happen, like, when that happens, it's maybe just time to give it a, you know, call it off with the lurk play and just stack up with this team and make it work. Because EG, from looking so good in their first series, and honestly looking pretty good throughout the majority of this one, eventually they didn't have enough, and Talon take them down, EG out of the tournament as well, and all of their, 4 fans will be deeply frustrated about this one. But, I mean, yeah, Jitboy and the other guys just turned up, Sushi Boys and Curve Calls. But yeah, 13-11 after leading 9-3 at the half, that's a rough one to lose, and then again, 8-4 at the half to just collapse like this. BCJ lurking with the Astra, maybe not optimal, and obviously it comes back to bite them in the end. 3G out of the tournament already, Talon move on, and that leaves the bracket looking very interesting indeed. We shall see for the decider games today, even as Ethan says, they played well, we played badly, GG's out of lock-in, and, you know, obviously at least thing we could do to actually clear out the practice room. So pretty relevant, of course, given his tweets earlier in the day. Also, though, with NRG playing today, some reckons that he's sick and he's yelling right now and his voice isn't working, which isn't ideal at all. So I'm not exactly sure if he can take some tablets or whatever, because there are some tablets you can take to get your voice to be fixed and stuff. But yeah, maybe not a good thing for NRG, because Som has been one of their standout players so far, and they play tonight against Loud in a rematch of Loud versus the OpTic core, as it always is. They were destined to match up against each other. Tough series to call. Loud might be marginal favourites here, just with the home crowd advantage. We still don't really know how good NRG are. I think it'll be a close series, though. It's going to be a 2-1 either way, surely. And then DRX versus Talent. DRX should be favourites here to make it through, but Talent, in fairness, haven't lost a map so far in this tournament. But hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.